Southern Shores Planning Board meeting for March 20th, 2023. And we'll start out with Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And you all have the agenda in front of you. And if you reviewed it, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Second?
Second.
Okay, the agenda for March 20th, 2023 is approved. We also have meeting minutes from December 19th, 2022 meeting. And this was actually when we were also sitting as the Board of Adjustment. That is included in. And has
Recording in progress.
Okay. Has everybody reviewed, and is there any changes to be noted?
I submitted some comments earlier,
Okay.
and that was on page 10.
We received comments from a few of you, and we've incorporated those comments into
Okay.
this draft here, the one that I sent out this afternoon after 2.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, so I see they've been addressed. Those applicants' representative was duplicated all throughout. I said
Okay.
Twice, so that was it.
Okay. Is there any other?
Well, actually, it's still there again.
Which one is that?
Line 450.
Applicants, representative applicants, yeah. Should be applicants,
Just,
representative.
I thought I
Kim
got all of
Hammy.
them.
It's,
that's a weird little.
Yeah, I got all the other ones, I think, but not that one. So yeah, line 450, we got that one. I'll take it.
okay, with that change, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of December 19th, 2022?
I make a motion to approve the minutes
A second.
of December 19th, 2022.
Okey doke. Done. Next, we have public comment. We have one public here today that has no comment. Very good. Old business, we don't have any of this time. I will at the end, when we asking for the planning board member comments, if there's any further thoughts on the commercial buildings and how the design structure of it. And we're not going to discuss that today, but I will, if you have anything that you want to add at that point, that's fine, just as a comment, but we're not going to go into that. And we have new business, which is the land use plan update for the future land use map, which we all have here. Wes, do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, our consultant with Stewart Incorporated, Andrea Radford, she's here, you can see on the screens, Zoom. She is going to give a presentation on the future land use map and the future land use character areas. So she can go through that with you, and then you all can offer any suggestions or comments or ask any questions y'all might have on that. So I'm going to turn it over to Andrea. Thank you for joining us, Andrea.
All right, thank you for having me. I'm having a little trouble hearing on your end. So, Wes, I didn't hear what the comments on the board had. So if you could get those to me, I'd appreciate that.
Will do.
I'll share my screen. Are you able to see my screen?
Not yet.
Not yet. All right. What about now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Again, I thank you for having me here tonight. And tonight's presentation is an update on the progress of the land use plan. I'm Andrea Radford, and with me is Ben Cotton. We both work for Stewart, the consulting group. Tonight, we're going to review the schedule, and then we'll review the draft future land use map and character areas, and then we'll have a discussion. So, in November, we began with a kickoff. We met with staff, we met with the boards, we met with the planning board, the board of commissioners, and had a public meeting all in one day to gather input and get to know the community. We followed up with a public survey, which was open for a month. We had 583 responses, which is excellent for, especially for a community this size. We typically don't get that type of response even in accounting. We're lucky to get maybe 300, so great job for getting the word out. And tonight we're here talking about the draft future land use map, and we'll follow up with a public meeting towards the end of April. Here we are on the schedule, meeting with the steering committee tonight, and we'll roll out the draft plan on April 26th. And the draft future land use map and character areas have been included in your agenda packet. So the future land use map serves as a blueprint for the community's vision of the future. It's a map that identifies broad land use types such as residential, recreational, conservation and open space, municipal, educational, and commercial. The map also identifies marinas as community activity areas and illustrates where wetlands exist. The future land use map outlines where uses should occur and is based on existing land use and compatible land use. It's not regulatory like a zoning map. It's a policy map that guides the community in the direction that they want to go. And from what we heard from the first public meeting and the survey is Southern Shores likes the existing character. The main changes from the currently adopted future land use map and this draft map are we combined educational municipal character areas and illustrated where the privately owned marina locations were on the map. There are 5 character areas on the future land use map. There is one large residential area shown in light yellow. It allows for mostly low density single family homes, occasional duplexes, accessory structures, civic association owned beach access, and occasional institutional uses such as like a church. The recreational character area, which is shown in the light green, it includes active and passive recreational facilities such as the golf course, civic association and parks, marinas, the beach parking area, recreational paths, and sound access areas. The municipal and educational designation on the future land use map includes town facilities such as town hall, the fire department, the cemetery on Dogwood Trail, and the elementary school. The commercial designation focuses on small to medium scale neighborhood serving, context sensitive commercial development. Mainly this designation is along US 158. Commercial development within this character area should encourage pedestrian access and interconnectivity between parking lots. In some areas, it might be appropriate for buildings to be pulled up to the street and have parking in the rear and have upper story residential uses. And in the conservation open space designation, this focuses mainly on preserving those environmentally sensitive areas within the community, such as the wetlands, the forested areas, and open space. Development shouldn't be encouraged in this designation, other than like utility related uses, recreational paths, other passive recreation such as like walking, biking, or wildlife observation within that area. Also, the wetlands were delineated on the map using National Wetlands Inventory data. These areas serve the community by both providing habitat for existing wildlife and serve as a natural buffer between land and waterways. So the next steps are to continue developing the plan and then introduce the draft plan to the public in late April. I think we said April 26th. So what we'll do at that meeting is gather input on the vision and goals that you've seen and recommendations, and gather comments and feedback on the future land use map and character areas. And after that meeting, we'll bring those comments back to you, and you can advise us if you want to incorporate those changes or not. Do you have any questions for me?
How do the canals fit into the designated areas? I know they'd be covered under wetlands, but the map doesn't delineate the canal system that I can see.
Wes, can you repeat what he asked me? Because I'm having a hard time hearing.
Yeah, Mr. Lawler was asking, what about the canals? What character area should the canals fall under, or are they just shown as wetlands, or should they be shown as wetlands? Should they be included in a character area? Is that correct, Ed?
Yeah.
We can show them as wetlands,
You what?
or yeah, we can show them as wetlands.
She said that they can be shown as wetlands.
Do you think we ought to have a separate character for canals? Since wetlands are,
Yes, I think so.
so we should delineate the canals, as like an open water type area. And we may have to, make sure that they're, covered or protected.
Andrea,
agree.
Mr. Lawler said that we should have a character area that addresses or covers the canals.
Okay,
I agree. It's
Yes.
an important feature for our community, and it's one that we want to highlight. I
okay.
think.
Would you feel comfortable putting it in recreational instead?
It certainly is recreational. However,
Right.
it's not privately owned. The canals are owned by the town, and I think they ought to be at least shown a little more prominently than they are. They ought to be identifiable on our map.
Okay. We could reword the recreational to include both privately owned passive and active recreational facilities and
I wouldn't use the same color.
No.
I would do the canals in their own color with
Yeah.
their own designation. I agree with you, Robert.
Yeah, the canals would be recreational and municipal, kind of a combination.
But they need to be designated
Yeah, separately.
because we may have to address them in the future. That would be beyond the way you would address wetlands or conservation open space. But the main thing is to get them designated on a map.
okay.
The Civic Association properties, there's no separate designation for them, am I correct?
Correct.
And since this might sound minor or picayune, but I'm looking at the wetlands up on 9th Avenue. I happen to live there, so I know. The wetlands do not cross 9th Avenue. Now, I don't know how accurate you want this map to be, but you have houses in that wetland area on 9th Avenue. And then it stops, and then 10th Avenue, it picks up again. That's correct, except across the street and from the green to the street approximately, is not wetland. Now, if it's a minor issue, but would it cause a problem in the future if a house is designated in a wetland? Because it crosses 9th Avenue and there's houses there. So in other words, it would stop at 9th, just as it stopped before 10th. You see how 10th,
Right.
it goes up to 10th, then there's the street, and then there's the wetland again. That's accurate.
Are there wetlands behind those houses on 9th?
There's a wetland
Behind
between
houses.
two houses.
Yeah. So in other words, that you need to show the road as clear all the way through
Yeah.
on 9th.
Yeah, the same as you did on 10th.
Also, the wetlands, I know you've got it on Hillcrest designated as recreational, but the wetlands are parallel to Hillcrest going east and west.
Yeah.
I think that needs to be delineated.
It may be helpful also to have that wetlands layer be below the street grid and maybe some of the other layers that you're showing. That may help with the visibility of it.
And that wetland, we created a wetland on Dogwood across from the station. And that's painted blue, municipal education. So on the south side of Dogwood, it's now a wetland.
Are you suggesting removing the wetlands overlay off of from the future land use map?
No, I'm not suggesting removing it. I'm just saying that layer
Okay.
might be not as prominent. It looks like it's on top of the street layer. It's on top of the recreation layer.
Okay.
Mr. Lawler had a comment about on East Dogwood Trail, the town-owned retention area across from the East Fire Station. His comment was to show that as a wetland, but the layer you're using, those are 404 wetlands, right?
Yes.
So I don't think that piece of property qualifies as 404 wetland.
Okay.
Were you able to hear the other comments, Andrea?
I didn't hear them clearly. No.
Okay. One of you had one about off of Hillcrest, wetland off of Hillcrest.
Yeah. I think Mr. Lorla had that, but Hillcrest is also, it's parallel. If you go up the green, see the green? The wetland actually runs along the sides of that. It's recreational, but there's also wetland in there along the side. And the center of Hillcrest is basically a road.
Yeah.
He's talking about the SSCA owned property, the Hillcrest Beach access.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
The wetlands, if you look at it on GIS, you'll see what he's talking about. There are ponds on either side running east to west. and there's a street in the middle of the two ponds. There's one on the north end and one on the south end up to a certain point.
Mhm.
So yeah, I agree as well that there are wetlands there. And then the other comment Mr. DiBernardo had was on 9th Avenue, how the wetland is shown there as well. Because right now it currently shows wetland where houses are located. And
Right.
And the question he had was, would that cause a problem? And yeah, I mean, I think without being able to pull up GIS at the moment, I'm pretty sure that those lots are developed.
They are.
And they're dry, yeah.
Yeah, they are.
Okay, I'll review that data set that we're using and see if we can make some adjustments.
Okay. But basically, Andrea, I mean, to sum it up, there are no big changes with this map from our current map. We're not expanding the commercial area. We're not expanding residential. We're not expanding municipal and educational. Everything's pretty much staying where it is, with the
Right.
exception of putting together the municipal and the educational categories.
Correct. Correct.
Does anyone else have any comments, questions?
Does any of the board members have any comments, further comments?
No, not at this point.
No, we don't have any further comments, does?
Andrea, they said they didn't have any other comments or questions, unless you have anything else for them.
No, I don't.
Okay.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want me to continue to record your meeting to the end?
No, you don't have to continue recording it. Thank you, though.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we'll be in touch about what was discussed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Okay, moving along, any public comment, Leo? No. Trying to get you to talk, Leo. Okay.
Product you recommend?
We have planning board comments, and we did not take up the design standards for commercial buildings. And in talking to Andy, he just wanted, if anybody had anything further to add, or if they didn't have anything further to add, that's fine. But he thought this would be the appropriate time to put it down on comments, because the old business was eliminated on this. So does anybody have any comments, any changes in, or anything new in the design standards that we discussed earlier?
I have something I want to bring up, but I don't think it is, it's about future land use. But it's not about design in buildings.
Okay, well, go ahead.
Okay, I've been following Nag's Head, and they just went to a C5 to designate a historical area.
Yes.
And again, this is just like a little bug in my craw when I saw that detached two-car garage with a, I guess we could call it an ADU being built, and what that concept would be. And today, I left, I do a day out program for Alzheimer's on Mondays, and I went on the 12 because 158 is just all backed up. And in Kill Devil Hills, they have a lot similar to what we have here. And apparently they're building this for another wedding menu type thing. They have 3 buildings that are freestanding, and they have probably at least 5 or 6 bedrooms in them, I assume. And they're putting a 4th. Now, it isn't any bigger than what we have here, but they're lining these up, one right behind the other. And then I thought, okay, is it time that Southern Shores thinks about how we want our 158 to mature and grow with the development that's going on? If we were to see a row of houses behind the existing houses, we would lose the open concept of what we're enjoying now. And it would double the traffic. And is it time for us to look at and talk about versus after we let the horse out of the barn and it gets rolling as it's starting, as we have one? In other words, Nags Head was able to nip it in the bud. Can Southern Shores, and is this a good time since they're bringing up this and going to the public? Is this something? I solely believe a person has eminent domain. They like to live in their property and they should be able to do what they want to it. But also there is a conceptual plan. And I'm thinking this is the only way we're going to get in on the ground roots is to start now. And that's just my thoughts.
We are addressing this accessory development at a future meeting, I believe. That's going to be on the plan.
Yeah, but that is everywhere. I mean, that's on any lot. And I think what I'm looking at is designating the oceanfront area as a separate entity as well because of the aestheticness of that road. Am I out, reaching too far?
Are you saying that you do not want the Ocean Boulevard area to be accessory development? Is that what you're saying? Or
Right. In other words, or we put some constraints as to if it's done, then it has to be attached to the house.
Yeah.
In other
Yeah, we're
words,
talking about-
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
We're talking about attaching to the house, but you just can't, in my opinion, you just can't utilize Ocean Boulevard because then you have your sound front units. And your sound front would have the same thing. When I was in the ARB, I know there is along, I'll tell you the street. If I look in here, it is along Soundview Loop
Right.
across the street. You cannot, if you build on Soundview Loop,
Right.
you are not permitted with the ARB, the Civic Association, if they still enforce it, you're not permitted to build a second floor that obstructs the view. You're allowed to have 1 bedroom up there or one livable unit, but you're not allowed to have anything that obstructs the view of the people across the street. And I know that because a woman was building that, and at that time when I was on there, I told her she couldn't do it, and she complied and did not continue to build this large. She had to change her plans. So that exists to some degree now. Whether it's enforced or not by the Civic Association is a whole nother ballgame. Or attempted to enforce by the Civic Association. So if you're doing that, you're going to have to expand not only like the ocean, you have to expand the canal. And it's a good point. I think the attached accessory development unit is the way to go.
Right.
I don't know. Any comments on that or?
Well, you'd have to pin it down as to what's attached.
Yeah.
Is it just a little breezeway?
Yes.
You have to have,
That's right. In other words, stipulate the distance between the main living area and where this ADU could exist. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
In other words, somebody could put out a 50-foot breezeway and say it's attached.
covered breezeway.
Exactly. You're
and
right.
say, well, it's
You're right.
attached.
Yeah.
You're right.
Well, that we'll get into that when we at a future date when we actually start hashing it through. And I agree, we have to do something because that's ridiculous in my opinion. just my personal opinion. I think it doesn't look good. I went by it today and it's bigger than some of the houses in Southern Shores. Okay, thank you. Anybody else have a comment on design standards for commercials? Okay. Do you have any comment at all? We're going down the line here.
No, not.
Okay. Do you have anything?
Well, for what it's worth, I'd rather see the buildings more towards the road and the parking in the back.
Mhm.
To try to get away from these giant parking lots facing 158 or 12 or something like that. It would be better if you could have parking in the back.
In the rear.
That would be aesthetically just something that I would prefer to see.
And that brings up another point. When you start talking about an ADU on the oceanfront, they have to have a certain amount of parking that goes with it. So now you got more asphalt, down again in the area. So I
Yeah.
mean, all of this needs to be looked at as to,
Yeah, I definitely think it has to be addressed and that's on our agenda in the future. The only thing I had, and I discussed this briefly with Wes, and he says he doesn't know whether it's a design standard, and I don't know whether it's a design standard. But when Marshall was built, if you remember, I was asking her about electric charging stations. And naturally, she sidestepped the question and said, not my venue. And I was wondering if on new commercial buildings, if it would be good. I mean, if you want to look at Southern Shores for the future is electric cars. If we would have a design standard to say, hey, you need an electric charging station of some degree. Now, I don't know whether this is a design standard or something that has to be addressed in the future, but I just thought I would bring this up. We want to move into the future. And by doing what we always did, we're not moving into the future, we're kind of static. And I thought that was a reasonable thing. And for instance, Harris Teeter has, and there's a lot of places, and actually one of the real estate companies here, Brindley, has every charging station listed on his website in the Outer Banks. So, and there is a lot, but you don't know about them. And I think it would be good. And many of them are commercial. The Bruce station has a Tesla and a regular. We have one here, but it's something to think about. And again, I don't know whether that's a design standard or not. I really don't. But we could discuss it and see if it does fit into that or do some research. That was my comment on it. Wes?
Yes, sir. I have a few announcements for you all this evening. One of them kind of ties into what you all were talking about accessory dwelling units. Y'all might already be aware, but last week, state legislators introduced House Bill 409, which mandates accessory dwelling units in residential zoning districts with single-family dwellings. I have a summary and a copy that I can send you all. I'll send it to you all tomorrow from the League of Municipalities. But that would kind of tie our hands a little bit, I think. I do remember it said you couldn't regulate parking for it. You couldn't regulate the utilities associated with it. It's like I said, it was just filed last week. The League of Municipalities is they're on it, as well as the North Carolina American Planning Association. I'm sure a lot of comments will be submitted here in the near future.
That bill passed, did you say?
No. It was just introduced.
Okay.
It was just introduced, so it's in the early stages. I think there was one similar last year as well. But I will keep y'all posted on all that, and I'll send you the information tomorrow.
Okay.
The town is considering options to address Southern Shores Landing. There was potentially a ZTA on this meeting agenda. We put out a notice for it. We decided not to move forward with it. Following direction from the town attorney, town staff has withdrawn ZMA 2301, which is the rezoning application that you all recommended and considered per town staff's request. As of right now, we're considering options. We're working with the town attorney to address that zoning map issue and the setback issue. We might be coming back to you all with a ZTA instead of a ZMA to amend the ordinance instead of the map to address those situations at Southern Shores Landing. So I'll keep you posted on that as well. Going back to another application that was considered by the board acting as a Board of Adjustment, APA-22-01, that was a 55 Skyline Road recombination plat appeal application. Following direction from the town attorney, the town recently entered into an agreement with the applicant to approve the recombination plat. We will have a ZTA that addresses ambiguity in how lot width is measured. We'll have that put together for you soon and most likely for your consideration at the April meeting. Also, at the next meeting, we may have a ZTA for that addresses commercial design standards. I have the information and the input you all provided from 2 or 3 meetings, as well as tonight. So I'm going to work with hopefully have time to work with the town attorney to produce a draft ZTA that y'all can consider. And I'll bring up with them your thought and idea about the charging stations.
Yeah.
And we'll see if maybe we can incorporate it into that. Other than that, I don't have any other announcements. The next regular meeting is scheduled for April 17th at 5 o'clock. Thank you all.
Okay. Is there anything else from anyone?
Short and sweet.
Do I have a motion?
Lightning.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, I'm motion.
Yeah. Do I have a second?
Second.
So be it.
Not bashful at all.
Jesus, fast without Andy.